It's a trap! It's a trap! It's a trap, I say! It's a trap! That Death Star is very operational! It's a bit of a rebellious business, this one. A rebel business. We're rebelling a stinky, awful carbon dioxide producing economy and trying to rebel that and replace it with a less one that will survive into the future. Okay, so thanks for enjoying. I hope you are a rebel person. We are just stop oil person. I hope you're an Extinction Rebellion person. I hope you're a green voting person. I hope you're a kind of just a normal, average, common sense person who can see that burn, baby, burn is madness. And if you're that type of person, you're in the right place. Thank you for looking at my video and thank you very much. What I like to do with my politics and also my brands, right? Because they're called Holism Incorporated. So the brands have to be fairly holistic in their thinking, don't they, to be legit under that heading? And this is possibly my most holistic one. I don't know how many of them are holistic or what level of holisticness we're experiencing here, but this Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative, this brand here is deployable by you. You listening, you could be a Rebel Bike Taxi person. How are you struggling to find something to do? Perhaps this despicable job market has not catered to you because you're kind of different in some way. Maybe you have some kind of challenge and whatnot that makes it difficult to get a job or to find a job that you're happy with, or even you just find your corporate existence absolutely miserable. And if you find your corporate existence, your office based existence equally miserable and whatnot, which again, being there is a kind of prison. I mean, you could have a kind of lower paying job that is more fun and have an overall happier life and existence. And that's kind of one of the things about Holism Incorporated. I think people could definitely earn a living on the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative alone. However, lots of the other Holism brands, they feed into that and they all kind of they operate together because these are just services that we need in the community, and we're utilizing branding and we're utilizing open source thinking and we're utilizing cooperative wealth. So there are assets in here which will be of a cooperative nature. That would be the bikes primarily, right? Bikes, storage of bikes, these kind of aspects. With a local branch person will have vehicles that carry out the operations of Holism Incorporated via freelance acting staff, who are kind of like gig workers who have evolved into this thing, have abandoned the working for the app and realized that they could do the thing that the app does without the app altogether. And that's the proposition. That's the plan, is to cater to the market locally, capture the market as well locally, using good branding, using good messaging and whatnot, and try and get people to support you as a legit alternative to mainstream apps on all fronts. So, like the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative, explaining later on, is a member level asset, requires a little bit of a spend and requires a little bit of banter from me to you just to make sure I'm happy with you using this, and actually to get a patch, to be honest, so that we can be cool about who works where and who covers what patch. And I'll kind of have to do the administering of that. That's one of the weird aspects of Holism Incorporated, why there's a need for some sort of centralized operating thinking and whatnot. However, as much of what's going on, and literally once you've got the license, it really is, it's on you to capture the market and get on and do it. Because again, other people can do the same, capture the market, but you will have a patch. You understand? So if you're on this brand, you've got a patch, and then you've got interns. So when you're taking on Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative, ideally you might have a little bit of funding. Ooh, funding, money. Did you say money? That's something I'm interested in, Mr. Dan. Let me tell me all about what's this about the money. Oh yes, right. Well, the money bit is where we get people need a little bit of investment. So we need a green investment bank, which in my case, on my platform, we call Draco Dormiens. Ooh, Draco Dormiens. That sounds like something from Harry Potter. It is, as yeah. Well, kind of, not really totally stolen, just inspired of like the kind of, there's a Dormient. I got the word Dormiens from that thing. And Draco Malfoy, as we know. So like, but Draco, don't worry about Draco. My Draco is a good Draco. My Draco is a good Draco, a bank for investing in these specific brands. Do you understand? So the Green Investment Bank invests specifically in Holism Incorporated businesses, which are all open source and spread throughout the economy and not actually attached together in anything other than an informal basis of an agreement of doing the same task in the same way and along similar lines. And if you fail at that, it will fail. It's a free market. Sorry. Capitalism. This is a kind of capitalist hybrid. What I'm interested in, ways of solving our problems that are non-dogmatic. So thanks for hanging out here. And again, it's like this intro card's been here for ages. Sorry about that. Thanks for coming here and checking this video out. Enjoy the talk through. And if you're at all interested in any more, just remember you can give me a shout. Also, funding. Oh, yeah, funding. Oh, yes, funding. Ask for money, Mr. Dan. Don't forget to ask for money. Oh, yes, right. Desperation here, somewhat getting tighter and all the rest of it. Campaigning now completely independently, completely full-time, independent politician, strictly independent politician. This is my work. Thanks for enjoying it. I'd really appreciate a little bit of support in any way you can with a beep, beep, beep on the device or a ching, ching, ching with the money in the bank, all right? All of these things are legit currency, but also just general support. If you have no actual currency, actually just being supportive and going, oh, that's a good idea. I'm going to like that. I'm going to remember that guy's name and I'm going to remember that idea. Mr. Enef Dunn. He wants to bring in a rebel bike taxi cooperative, which will solve a great deal of our transport problems and massively reduce the carbon dioxide being pumped out in our cities, and also could be a really good way to grow the economy in all these various ways that we'll see here. A growth plan that is a human health plan that is also a Green New Deal type thing. Woohoo! Okay, next slide. Well, Mr. Dunn, welcome back. This is the Manchurian Candidate. I am, of course, Mr. Dunn's PR team. This voice will often come on to help sort of smooth over the whole self promotion thing. And also some cringe, sort of embarrassing things, or even sometimes just sort of things that are absolutely horrendous and so dark side and horrible that we have to think about them in politics, talk about them in politics and whatnot, that it can be helpful to hear it from a rather posh voice. Or perhaps a voice rather like this chap here. Look, this is a sort of cockney rhyming slang type person. Anonymous, my name's Anonymous. I'm sure you'll understand, although I might talk like a peaky blinder, I am a legitimate businessman. It says so on my business card. Although I may seem like an absolute legend, I know I just give off the professional high flyer vibe of a business, a right diamond geezer, if you will. My humble ambition is to get a fleet of road warrior, eco freelancers, urban wealth, manufacturers, bike taxi, business owners who are driven, if you'll forgive the pun, the drive to revolutionize. Oh, yes, another pun straight away. Drive to revolutionize the transport sector of our economy for the bear, obviously. I'm so sorry about the Anonymous thing. Look, Anonymous is kind of like my bike taxi cooperative guy mascot dude. If you're a proper Cockney rhyming slang type person wants to ever go at that, do it properly, do the branding properly, that would be great. Actually, Chris, right? Just kind of like have fun with your business. Love your business. This is a brand. This is probably might be possibly my favorite business. I have many brands and assets and such, and they're part of Holism Incorporated. This is the cool thing about Holism Incorporated. It's one gigantic brand that gives you all these other little brands. They're fantastic. Holism, holistic thinking incorporated. Let's not go deep dive on that. We're here to talk about this one, the Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative. So the idea behind a Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative should be fairly straightforward. It's a cooperative with bike taxis for rebels. Right, let's move on. Next slide, man. Have you seen the weather in this country, Mr. Dad? Have you seen the weather? The weather here, for goodness sake. Yeah, I know the weather is a thing, right? However, look, what we need to do, I think, is design beautiful new bikes, okay? So bear in mind that there is a bike design aspect to Holism Incorporated as well. There's a vehicle design aspect that we need to talk about later. However, I mean, there are definitely vehicles on the market that are viable. I purchased one or two and had a shot, and I'm fairly convinced that we need to actually build purpose-built ones. And it might be a really cool way to start the project is to have a design prize for the perfect vehicle for us. But this is fundamentally one of the Holism Incorporated assets. So that means if you join Holism Incorporated with myself, become a member. To become a member, you need a patch. You need to have a patch to operate. So of the brands that I've put forward so far, I think this is my first member level one. The other ones you can see are all talking about how to become an intern, join with grassroots. Generally, I'd want to be trying to develop people from doing the intern level stuff competently, which is fairly straightforward, not necessarily needing a cargo bike or a humongous vehicle, but then that upgrading to different vehicles. And so the bike sector, I would really be reaching out to the bike sector for a bit of backing and whatnot with this, because we need you guys to be designing better bikes that are more fit for purpose and whatnot. There's a few really good British manufacturers there are. We'd like to get something built in the UK that's purpose designed for the UK, and will provide a really luxurious and viable service. And this is a part of my major transport policy for having a greener than green platform, because I feel like my solutions to green problems are all around business plans, really ethical, sensible business plans, things that will just work. And I'm hoping there couldn't really be anything more simple than this. When we have a vehicle that's a combined power, doesn't deploy any burning of the carbon, releasing rather of the carbon, carbon dioxide, we have a big win on our hands. So that's what this thing is all about. So these brands are available to be used. You can make a small investment into me and my campaign and whatnot, and have access to the use of all these brands. All right. Now that could be via the union. So if you want to become a member of the union, be a grassroots member, or you can just become a member of Holism Inc. just on its own and just become like, hey, no, I just like the brand, I like the business, I want the business. And maybe wherever you are in the world, if you're wanting to start a bike taxi business, look, let me just tell you that using this Rebel bike taxi one, it hopefully will become more and more utilized all over the world, and we gain that kind of immediate, what would you say, organic marketing. So they're organically marketed, sort of self-marketing concepts in a way, right? Okay, all right, that's fair. Shall we move on then? If you're Holism Incorporated, member level asset, fantastic. New vehicles to be designed, that's right? Yeah, absolutely, yes, mate. Well, not necessarily. Again, there definitely are vehicles there in existence. It really is a very oldie worldy, traditional, simple thing that I'm trying to revive here a little bit, and revive for our urban areas, and do it in a way that is open source to the community, and it's not a kind of pinch point gig economy thingamajiggy. Okay, like a toxic corporation. Yeah, this is local business, independent people. Yeah, well, that's cool, isn't it? All right, next slide. Now is the time. Now is the time, you say, Mr. Dan. Is that right? Yeah, well, actually, I mean, the time would probably be better. It'd be like 10, 15, maybe even 20 years ago, to be honest. Never mind. Okay, we are where we are. Even 30 years ago would be good. The thing is that we just don't have a great deal of time, do we? And things are very, very bad and whatnot. So now is indeed the time to make bike taxis a highly desirable, luxurious way to travel around town. Luxurious. We're going to be luxurious while being on a bicycle today, but getting. That's why we say get on your bike. There's nothing luxurious about being on a bike. Dude, look at the picture. Look, I found this picture. I don't really know the origins of it. I don't really have any copyright use on it. Sorry, but it seems to be old enough and unknown enough. I'm taking a risk here because it's a non-profit use at the moment and all the rest of it. Meanwhile, forgive me for that if it's dodgy. One will remove. But my point is to say, isn't this a beautiful example? I'd love to just credit the person, to be honest, say what a gorgeous photo, what a gorgeous vehicle. Isn't it interesting, fascinating that such a vehicle could exist? Something so beautiful. Like, I think it's very elegant, very charming, and I think that actually something like that, taking tourists and fancy people around the town of Edinburgh, would be very beautiful. Because particularly if you got a guy dressed up in a concierge type outfit, in a hat and all that, looking smart, kind of high standards. High standards. Oh, is that the thing here? Yes, it's premium, mate. Exactly. High standards of service, high standards of performance, high standards of safety. Who are these guys riding the bike? First of all, I remember providing a more safe system than what's going on at the moment with the Uber people and all the rest of it. This would be much more secure and all that on that front. They would need to, I think, regulate. We need to regulate within ourselves on those fronts. With it being a bike thing, there ain't a lot of legislation, hence the need for a political arm of doing it. I mean, really, this is about getting these results over the line. I came to the conclusion a couple of years ago that I wasn't going to be able to achieve my goals at all, even if I did design the perfect bike, which I was working on. Ooh, the perfect bike, you say, eh? Again, Mr. Dan, you're so very humble about your own abilities. You could do this. You're going to design a perfect bike? Look, it's just about, like, it's not even about designing a perfect bike. It's thinking that getting it through the heads of the biking industry and the people building the bikes. Look, if you make these things comfortable, if you make them market viable, maybe they'll do better. Like, our bike industry is making bikes for this side. It's absolute cluelessness. There's a ton of bankruptcy, loads of huge businesses going down because of bike design. So it's not so much that the bike design need to design a perfect bike. What I need to do, I think, with messaging and communication is do more to inform the market, as in not just the consumer, me and you. What do we want? Well, we want this. Listen, I'm telling you, this is going to sort of like a human powered thing. It's like the person on it. First of all, you get around town quicker. The vehicles themselves can be very robust, okay, and comfortable, and actually the kind of thing that you'd want to do. Like I mean, I was designing one for taking people around town. It's like a bike tour thing. I was like, oh, that's what I want to do with my time. And then I wanted to do the bike taxi thing as a job. This was like the job. I was like, oh, I want this job. This is an amazing job. Car around town, pick people up, cycling all day long, bit of a banter, like a good old taxi, not with any of the sort of creepy problems of taxis and all the rest of it, difficult market challenges with Uber and whatnot. This would be a cut through thing, would be saving the planet, everybody doing a journey, taking a journey, and it would feel like they're saving the planet, and want to provide something that is at least as good, if not superior, to what is currently on the go with taxi. So you need to be able to this is the thing, you want to be able to pick up and take it to where you're going, dry, comfortable, warm the whole way, right? So you have to design decent vehicles that provide that. And I'm telling you, dear audience, and isn't it wonderful that we have technology that's minimum and stuff like that? We can definitely provide that now. So this is something that wasn't necessarily not ideal, wasn't market viable, the sort of technology, making it market viable, and the urgent need for climate activity. That's what's gone into this brand. And I'm really proud of it. Thanks for your time listening and reading this. We'll move on to the next slide now. So let's talk just a little bit more groundedly about how this business model would function. Again, it's like hypothetical at the moment in a way because which allows me to do a little bit of marketing, if you like, for the business and utilize these various graphics and other bits and pieces I've done in the media and all the rest of it. It's about proposing a business that I can then subsidize, open up a market for regulation wise in politics to guarantee the outcomes for these businesses, right? So let's just talk through a few details of it as a job creation plan, obviously. So with me, it's industrial strategy, capitalist reformation, at the same time as save the planet, Green New Deal, and also at the same time improve human health. You're welcome. Fantastic holistic solution, right? So what do we need for that? So Holism Incorporated is a collection of brands, as we said before, none of which are actually locked in together. They are my personal property, ENF done of my design. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Yes, I know, fantastic, fantastic. Look, why? Why have they come into existence? Well, because they're about solving political problems in a capitalistic style with socialist goals and green goals as well, trying to really make a kind of symphonetic kind of mix of everything together. So everything works well together. So how does Holism Incorporated kind of work? Yeah, so we have like people with a patch who are patch owners who, like myself, own a patch to deploy Holism Incorporated brands within them and kind of regulate and license and control that a little bit. Okay, so the main guy in the area. In other words, with that patch thing, it would give the person with the patch that kind of exclusive rights. And this is a thing that I would just need to manage as the kind of chairman, whatever, the union man, the man of the union, the sort of boss. Yeah, so I get to decide what patches people get. Basically, would be one bit of power that I have. And the minute this is not a tight market, but in the future that will get tighter and tighter and tighter, right? So we'll need to devise ways of dealing with that that are in line with union principles. So everything that Holism Incorporated does, and all this work that we're talking about, goes on, generally speaking, with people who are members of the union, the grassroots union, which is another thing we can get some banter on that. You should be able to find some details on grassroots elsewhere on the YouTube and the Instagram and the whatnot. So additionally to being a member of a union, workers are all unionized, and that unionization would be the mechanism of maintaining standards and looking at one another's work and so on, and just keeping the brand associated with success and the brand principles are adhered to in the work and all the rest of it. Excuse me, paid internships, right? So what's the deal? If you've got the branch, you've got the patch effectively, how do you grow, right? So the way to grow is to take on interns. So you take on an intern in order to grow. So the interns then take on the other in your patch. So you say, oh, you want to be an intern in Holism Incorporated? Somebody wants to be an intern? Brilliant. You want to use these brands? Fantastic. Via branch manager person in that area. If there isn't one and it's just you on your own, good luck to you. You're welcome aboard. Pretty much everything, with that startup effort. So there's not really, unless somebody tries to lock down a patch, by spending money on me and me to do that, then there isn't really any other way for interns to be, growing naturally, to just be in a state of near constant growth and expansion, because the services are designed to just replace what the big apps are already doing by cutting out the middleman. And really what we want, and remember, if you're a person like myself, you got a patch, if you're one of the people that have taken it on to become a member, the more interns we have, the better all the services do. And actually, if you bring an intern into your patch, which is great, see somebody that doesn't necessarily have any interest in growing any further than that, so that would be the kind of student, casual delivery workforce market, versus the people who do want to develop and grow business a bit more, take on more brands, add brands to it even. It's Holism Incorporated. I'm hoping you people are going to come up with some cool stuff too. Can't all be on me, for goodness sake. I'm not your boss, but I am your collaborator, and hopefully I'm your politician. And hopefully one day your damn chancellor or something useful where I can really have an impact. But at the moment, building your local patch and marketing the brands and the support and all that is the main driver. It's not a franchise. There aren't any goals on it. We're kind of all mutually, driven. I don't need to lock people down into a franchise. None of these things apply here. When it comes to the banking, so the Draco Dormiens and also the Velo Naledi. So there's actually two, when it comes to loans, you'd be looking to get your startup loans from Draco Dormiens. Again, come to me as a politician in that, and to fast forward to a future where I've got my 1.5 million fundraising. You want to try and help me with my fundraising, by the way, so that I can get myself to that bank foundation. We can found a bank and then start loaning money to you guys so you can start building these brands for me. And I'll basically loan you what is a kind of micro investment loan. And they will be very, very safe, secure loans and make Draco a very, very safe and secure green investment bank. So investments will be things like your mortgages and your pensions and your good old-fashioned savings and loan. I mean, Velo Naledi is essentially a good old-fashioned savings and loan. I always get a bit choked up when I think of Velo Naledi. Why is that? Oh, right. Velo Naledi, the reason the brand Velo Naledi brand not mentioned here, I should probably try and put my brands up. Actually, I'm just looking at this pictures now at the moment. Velo Naledi, so forgive me if I forget. Velo Naledi is the money away for a rainy day. Velo Naledi is savings and investments that are legit again. People being able to buy houses and have mortgages and have legit community banking going on. We'll go through Draco and Velo Naledi. These are new financial institutions which currently, as we speak right now, only exist in my little head. However, there is a magic wand called public policy. There's a magic wand where we can actually make these things happen, and it will involve me winning an election, guys. All right? Because sadly, I don't have 1.5 mil. I had enough money to take a few years out and plan this and get this work done, but I do need to win an election in order to get my hands on that 1.5 million and then set up Draco Dormians, and then I will start loaning out, and then the capitalist reformation can begin. Does that make sense? So the loans and investments and the financial backing that's needed is going to come from these future investment opportunities. Okay, and again, with Velo Naledi, there will also be the Nomad business. We'll come to that later on. The Nomad vehicles and a vehicle of my design, and the new project Nomad, you're going to look at what nomads are and what Nomad is. Nomad against another vehicle. Ideally, your bike taxi will be component of your Nomad, and your bike taxi will kind of organically fit together in a cool way for when you want to scale up or when you want to move big things. Again, a branch manager, a branch owner, a territory owner, kind of a member of Holism Incorporated, not just a Holism intern. If you want to be an intern in Holism Incorporated, I'm hoping to have millions of interns and hundreds of thousands of branch managers, roughly, and members. Okay. We need to rebel this economy. It's a terrible economy. It's a downward spiral economy. It's a death economy. We want a life economy. We want a future economy. You get it. It's so important right now. We have jobs that are terrible for us. They're doing terrible things to the planet. They're doing terrible things to our kids, terrible things to our futures, terrible things to the planet. Holism Incorporated is all about turning that around, eh? Oh, right, okay. I think we'll just move on. Will we move on, Mr. Dan? Because you get all choked up about the end of the world and whatnot. I mean, we're just trying to start a damn business here. That's what we're doing. But it's a mission as well, guys, right? You have to have a business that you care about, something that makes sense. I hope this does. Oh dear, that's the old logo, Mr. Dan. What's happened? We have a new logo now, don't you? I can't remember. Anyway, listen, it's the same colors. I think it's pretty much the same. This is the thing about Holism. There's a lot of businesses in here all combining together, right? And most of them revolve around working on bikes. But almost entirely work on, at least are somewhat in the vicinity of that, adjacent to that. Anyway, a delivery bike, upgrade cargo bike, upgrade on that bike taxi, and then upgrade on that will be the Nomad, and then upgrade on that would be a Mr. T, and a Mr. T is another vehicle I've designed. Anyway, meanwhile, with the vehicle use and the type of work we're doing, it makes absolutely good sense to have unionization and have unionized contracts. And actually, if you think about it, rather than having any toxic franchise contracts, having unionized contracts is just far more appealing for everyone involved. And I mean, to be honest, me personally, I'm doing this for political reasons, not necessarily how do I become a billionaire, zillionaire, whatever, with us an idea. I'm putting forward the ideas to run as legit businesses that make good sense. That means you should have unionized workers. Hello, being a capitalist, as such as I am, and also being a socialist at the same time, being a pragmatist in general, means because you can look at things going, oh, this is a good idea, and that is a good idea, and I will use both good ideas if you don't mind. It doesn't say anywhere in the world that I have to use only one set of ideas, one particular brand of solutions to problems. I don't have to do that. I can use whatever brand of problem solution solving problems I want. That's the thing about having a pragmatic politician and why you should vote for me and back me. So grassroots union, I am also the head of this grassroots union, grassroots human traffic workers union. Why is it called the human traffic workers union? Because immigrants get it done. Whether you're an immigrant or not an immigrant, it doesn't really matter. But the point is that we're all human. So having a human traffic workers union makes sense. These people are going to be taking their lives in their hands. They already are. They don't get recognition for that. But with a union, they will, and they're not only will their conditions and their take-home pay and their health and safety all improve, but we will achieve better results. Hello. You know how the German economy is famously cool for getting things right and things working and all the rest of it, not sending challengers up to explode on the halfway or setting off Chernobyls or whatever. No, 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 no. Quite a good reputation, apart from the other sort of, shall we say, not appealing aspects of being very good at stuff, but also being being very good at stuff is something to be proud of, right? Let us be proud of doing service. If we're a service-based economy, right, let's try and get to not an Americanized economy, but I would quite like us to have happy workers, unionized taxi workers that are also eco freelancers. Can you imagine it? Add all these things together. Is it possible? Well, why is it not possible? There's a desperation for straightforward, good jobs. What we might call you might call this a low skilled task or an unskilled work or whatever. It might well be that, but it doesn't matter. It's still honorable work. And that's the thing about fancy posh people. They just don't have the capacity to respect human labor for what it is. They developed a kind of disorder, dysfunction when they don't care about how hard people work. Well, this disorder can kick in on anyone, and I am not immune to disorders. Neither are you, dear listener. Given the right circumstances at Stanford Prison Power Dynamics, you will do things that are not ideal. You'll neglect your workers and all the rest of it. So, having unionized contracts and unionized workers exclusively in Holism Inc. is absolutely baked into the business plan. Why? Again, not just because of some weird political reason, no, but because it makes good sense and it will work better. Okay. Right, okay. Next slide then. Fair dues, pragmatism, 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 all day long. How to? What do you mean, how do you get started kind of thing? Is that what you mean, Mr. Dunn? Yes, exactly right. So these, just try to be quickly here with this, if you don't mind. These are some of the entry level brands, what we call the intern level brands. So for pretty much anyone can become an intern in Holism Inc. Do you understand? This is a kind of the whole point of being an intern in Holism Inc. Pretty much by reading this, you kind of are one. I mean, there's very few, next to no strings attached to these ideas, these entry level ones, because they are all about capturing the market in various ways, removing a toxic third actor, third party, like an app or something, or even the state at times. And let me just tell you a little bit about them quickly. I'm having some sort of technical issues today, just to let you know. Some sort of recordings I've made just vanished. Sometimes I do lovely recordings and just get wiped out and vanished, and that has happened today. So forgive Mr. Dan, just a bit crabbit about that, and I'm just going to talk through these brands for what is about the second time today. Hopefully the device that we're on will retain the information or just forget it randomly. Thank you very much. So concierge, yes, here. So concierge, right, is the primary, let's just take out all the apps type option. That is a disruptor, yeah, big time. Catering to the market that is currently feeding on Deliveroo and all the rest of it, right? Boom. We're going to take all that, snap that up. Fetch is a thing that I call the redistribution network. So Fetch is taking our distribution network, which, as you know, is very unsustainable and toxic, and trying to create redistribution. So promoting redistribution, that will get its own video, the redistribution network, described by me as Fetch, a service called Fetch, an option of utility for a way of selling and transacting secondhand goods. Oh yes, it would be sending a person on a bike to go and fetch it, right? So fetch it, not only fetch, but fetch it when it's coming back too. So fetch is all about getting our secondhand goods, maybe even just to a charity shop, but also primarily from a business point of view as well, or actually just to sort of domestic retailers themselves, personal people doing hand-me-down type stuff. Basically, a waste not, want not brand is Fetch. Fetch is quite a cool one. With Nessie City, the Nessie City store, necessity, it happened because I can't spell the word necessity. Even now, I do my best to avoid the word necessity. Even right now, the word necessity is kind of stressing me out because if you ask me to spell it, I can't. So I call this one the Nessie City store. Comedically, we've used a sort of gender ambiguous character. Nessie, I had to make Nessie a character, right? So I was like, well, I'm going to make Nessie a kind of gender ambiguous character just to be very inclusive and welcoming and absolutely tolerant and to demonstrate solidarity to everyone for whatever reasons tolerated by being, non-conventional on the gender spectrum, whatever it might be. Love and solidarity to you, best wishes. So the Nessie City store is your brand. And what Nessie City store is, again, a little bit like concierge, but again, probably more aimed at getting big bulk items. So your Nessie City store, when you become a Holism Inc. Patch owner, you will have an in-house menu of goods. That's what Nessie City store. So it'll be things that you find from your customers that they need maybe on a regular basis, or they need whatever. You can do a bulk buy if you want. You can actually run a little shipping enterprise here. It's really a kind of an endless operation. Holism Incorporated. It's everything you can think of, all under one roof, all under one roof. That's what brand is that? I think that might be the Toys R Us one from a long time ago. Wow, welcome. That is like a journey with just little weird memory lane trip there in my head. Don't know about that tangent. Let's just leave that one alone. Toys R Us, iconic brand. Bravo. Dead and gone now, I believe. Best wishes to you. Sold a lot of toys, a lot of deadly toys, a lot of toxic toys, put a lot of plastic into our bodies and the environment. Thanks very much. Things like that we don't like. If you don't like things like that, you'll love the Urban Foragers. Urban Foragers Organization, or UFOs, is again an intern level brand, which is a recycling project, not just a recycling. Oh, that sounds like boring and rubbish. Straight away, boring and rubbish. No, 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 no. Urban Forge is about taking material that looks like garbage and turning it into not garbage, which you can then sell for money. It's physically, literally about taking plastics, which are reusable, not for the thing and not for that thing and not for that thing, but using them for something that has a higher market value. So bringing in what is effectively garbage, which has a massive net negative impact on businesses. They want rid of that stuff. They will literally pay you to take it away from them, and then magically turning that into something that you can then sell. Cool, right? That is what a UFO would do. And what the urban foraging is an activity of garnering that wealth, that material wealth, which the broken and absurd balance sheets, not just of local of big giant businesses, but also of our nation, the balance sheets of our businesses, the huge ones, and our nation are of course just a gigantic fraud, aren't they, unfortunately? And so things that appear to have no value can sometimes have vast, vast value, and things with vast, vast, vast value can appear presenting weirdly to have no, 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 no value at all. And let's be clear, they've manufactured a huge amount of plastic. We do have a huge amount of plastic, and we have to find interesting ways to do stuff with it. That's what Urban Foragers will do. And we do that in a creative, semi non-profit way. The non-profit being that it is mainly only to provide services and access and use, and actually branches. They'll have store branches in town. So hopefully, if I get that right, if that becomes a cool, cool, cool thing that I want it to be, there will be quite a lot of UFOs all over the place. Now, UFOs, you got to take your stuff to the UFO, or your fetch dude will come and get it for you. Whatever it is, people doing a recycling that is driven towards the manufacture of retailable products and goods, things that we need. Sometimes that might be a nomad, like an actual vehicle, or it could just be like a billboard or something like that, or it could be like a bunch of cat toys. I mean, I've designed a few cat toys out of plastic and recycled. That's what I've designed to kind of meet the market demand for cat toys. Listen, it's capitalism is like this. Capitalism is about trying to spot needs, things need the thing, and then provide the thing and charge a bit of money for that, and do that in a sort of honest, straight up way. That's good old capitalism. What these monopoly people do is not legit capitalism. Welcome to Holism Incorporated, where we do legit capitalism, where we take things that maybe have no value, or there might be a lack of value, and we create value. We create value by magic. That is the power of the capitalist. Welcome to capitalism, even if you're a socialist. Good news, I'm also a socialist. It's cool to be a socialist and a capitalist at the same time, because then why not? It's only in these weird circles that they don't let you enjoy able to run businesses and have good ideas and make good ideas work and all the rest of it. But at the same time, determined to be sort of weirdly socialistic about everything and run things in a kind of like, I don't know what it is, Chernobyl. Like, whether it's the Challenger you're going to send up into space to blow up, or whether it's the Chernobyl that you're going to let combust, the extremists on either side are pretty mad. A pragmatist is someone like myself who will use all the good ideas to get the job done really well. That means fairness, social justice, equality, have unionized workers, right? Have social responsibility, planetary responsibility, green responsibility in the business also, right? All of that baked into Holism Incorporated. Listen, while we're here, could you support me? This is like very difficult. We need to get over the 1.5 million fundraising point to get to the point where I can really start giving people startup funds to get these things going. And that's what I want to do. I want to be distributing loans, business loans to people to start these little businesses and get these businesses up off the ground. But really, the intern level stuff is already that you need next to nothing to get going with these things. All right, so we'll talk about that as we go along. Thanks for this is an informative video about what the Rebel Bag Taxi Cooperative would be like. And that would mean sometimes manufacturing cool and interesting things that are kind of bespoke to the vehicle, to the worker, to the task, and so on. Urban Foragers organization would provide that in a way, an interesting way also. So I think that's enough on that stuff. Right, okay, so we'll move on. Yes, dude, let's move on, maybe even finish. Ah, sir, the rebels are here. Yes, indeed, the Death Star is quite operational when your friends arrive. Listen, the friends arriving thing, how do you get the friends to arrive? What do you need if it is a trap? You're going to need mates and all that, right? Well, we need the hand soul traders, don't we? People in Holism Incorporated will benefit from this resource, the Rebel Business School. The Rebel Business School will be developed alongside the Rebel bike taxi cooperative. Do you understand? So for the rebels, because it's like properly engaging with the roads and the public, carrying people around. These are quite high risk things, coming with a bit more liabilities, a little more safety concerns, a bit more of a need for regulation and whatnot. So that will go on through the Rebel Business School. So when people become a branch owner, if you like, an area branch person who is a member of Holism Incorporated, like an actual member, not one of our interns. An intern can be anybody. You need any affiliation whatsoever, just pick up and go. Use the name, use the idea, knock yourself out. The thing is, with Holism Incorporated, the more member level ones, so this one, the Rebel Business School, Rebel Bike Taxi Cooperative, these ones really, for me, they're going to need a little bit of support and wisdom behind them to make sure that they are, legit and whatnot, and that people aren't just having accidents and failures and all the rest of it, and things are actually successful. You do need a little bit, and just to be clear, it's not the kind of an illustrious, massive arms and legs infrastructural institutional thing here. No, 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 no. It's just basically a how-to, a bit of a business school, a bit of a resource, and a bit of a backing. So there's material in that about how to run these bike taxis in a safe way, conscientious way, and whatnot, and maintain, crucially, brand standards, not just of safety for safety reason, for the legit reason of safety, but also because it helps grow everyone else's business. And we can't really have people who are not maintaining certain standards and whatnot. I can't tell you what all of those are right now off the top of my head, although I have done quite a bit of it. I'll be honest, like I've got a fair bit of it in my mind. And I would like to see what other people come up with in addition. So when there is more than just me in Holism Incorporated, the plan will sort of come together. We have a bit of a plan. Get a plan together. Is that the kind of thing? Yes, in the Rebel Business School. Very nice. We'll cater for all those things. Yes, absolutely. All of the brands for Holism Incorporated that need some form of educational support and whatnot will benefit from the Rebel Business School. All right. That makes sense? Absolutely. Now, let's move on. So that's about it, really. It's fairly straightforward. One of the most straightforward, classic, noble business models, using a vehicle that is minimalist, that saves the planet while you're riding it because it's going to keep you healthy, living healthy, happier, longer lives for workers happier, passengers happier, people getting from A to B quicker around town, quicker around an urban area, less congestion, actually quicker from point to point. I mean that seriously for Edinburgh, actually quicker from point to point. And so being able to provide this service with a vehicle that is comfortable and weatherproof, not weatherproof like this one, let's be clear, this is where we are right now. We need to get to something slightly better that is more contained, that is weatherproof, that is UK British weatherproof. Is that clear? and that will be a success. That will be success. The new bikes are in design. It's really not that difficult though to imagine. You know what I mean? You just need to have a bit more of a boxed in one. I like my beautiful kind of oldie worldy pictured one, something like that, with the rider at the back rather than the rider up the front. I don't like rider up the front. I prefer rider at the back because the experience for the people up front is better too. You want the people up front to feel like they're getting a premium experience. You know what I mean? That's what I'm after providing. Premium, luxurious journey, point to point, quick, efficient. Possibly even undercutting the current taxis, but I mean, kind of around the same price. For me personally, right, if I were to give you the dream what this could be like, I would run them in a way that the state is paying the guys for their time, right? In other words, this would be the way public transport should be free. The way public transport should be free and abundant. I would want this to be free and abundant. And I know that sounds quite radical because it's point to point. I know that, but this is about where we can move forward into. Right, my campaigns are I hope grounded in reality, but also grounded in the idea that things need to get better, not just take them back to how they used to be when things were kind of okay, whatever. Well, no. Although that might be legit to some regard. But imagine having this free, abundant service of moving people around. This is quite illustrious and whatnot, and maybe quite idealistic and whatnot. But to have a free public transport system that people can get around everywhere in a way that makes us really proud of this country. Do you know what I mean? Like, what a cool place to live this is. Again, having a healthy, happy, vibrant community is the thing that will produce real economic growth. Who we have in charge right now, these people are growth impotent. Okay, they don't believe in growth. Growth to them is wealthy people robbing and burgling everyone else. Growth to us, real legit capitalists who are quite socialistic because we accept that workers have something to do with the process of making money. Yeah, generating the capital is done through human labor. This is not a downside. It doesn't always have to be this ridiculous battle between the bosses and the workers. I mean, unfortunately, it is that, but it is that because of them, not because of us, right? So we can make things different. Yeah, we can make things better. We can have a more fair way of working, a more pragmatic way of working, something where business is good and useful. I have experience of the charitable sector. Working in the charitable sector, I have found standards to be far, far higher than they are in public sector and public work. So it's difficult if we're just going to straight up, gift money, and it's not about that. It's about saying if you deliver, money will be there. Wealth will be there. A nation ought to be able to create opportunity in that way. And if it's not, it's because someone's done something broken and broken it. Okay. So, and that's why I think has happened. That's why I think all of my problems I want to sort out require political activity. They do. They require political will. They require a political will that is absolutely and completely lacking at the moment. So if you like my ideas and you think that some of them could be good with a bit of tweaking and a bit of whatever, fantastic. Give me any and all support that you can manage. Thank you so very, very much. Hopefully, the environment and all that, we'll get it under control. Okay. If we have good ideas, we have pragmatic ideas, we have good politicians, move in a direction of progress. Things will get better. Okay. Let's have some hope. I'm going to go now. Okay. Well, thanks very much. No more videos coming on more brands. I believe all of these brands are going to get a little introduction video. That'll be cool, won't it? It'll be a massive YouTube full of lots of weird ideas by this guy here, Ian F. Dunn. You're welcome. Thank you. Bye.